What's the main takeaway from today?
Well, for the most part, I saw a lot of the testimony from Diane Deans. She's the former president of the Police Services Board for the city of Ottawa, and pretty interesting testimony, I have to say. And if ever you wanted to see a textbook example of waning loyalties, that's what you saw today. There was a lot of support for Peter Slowly on her part, and then at some point she transitioned to basically throwing him under a bus, and then back to support. And I mean, these are the kinds of things that we were seeing, and that's been a consistent sort of theme throughout this whole thing, with a few exceptions. And I want to sort of say that those exceptions are interesting because they're coming from people that are not politicians, where every time the politicians get in the seat, you start to see them showing all of their infighting, right? Because these people are the ones who make the decisions, the final decisions. The staff, their role and their goal is to put them into a position that they can make sound decisions. And so you could see the efforts of the staff to try to put the politicians into those decisions, but yet when they fumble the ball on the 1 yard line quite regularly, they start attacking each other. So that was kind of a reinforcement of that same theme that we've seen throughout.
Right. Yeah, the politicians are always trying to save their career. I think we truly saw the difference with Jim Watson yesterday and the people testifying the day before.
And let's never forget, every time a politician is in front of a camera, they're campaigning.
No, 100%.
Always.
100%. So can you talk to us a little bit more about the two witnesses that testified in front of the committee today? Yeah.
So I think he's the chief of intelligence, Pat. He's currently on there. He's on a break right now. He's been testifying the OPP. I think he's the superintendent for the OPP. Pat Morrison, I think, is his name. And I was listening to his testimony this afternoon, but they spent quite a significant amount of time with Diane Deans today. So I wasn't able to kind of get the full picture with him, but I did manage to get some. And from my experience with the military, I understood his demeanor. I understood sort of the thought processes that he was going through, that when he was making advice or kind of integrating with the Ottawa Police and other agencies. So that was kind of an interesting thing. And again, like he's not a political creature.
Right.
So when he's up there, he's actually able to get up there and spell out the facts as what they knew at the time. And so that's a different dynamic hearing his testimony than, for example, seeing one of the decision makers who's a politician, somebody like Diane Deans.
Let's just show the viewers who Diane Deans is.
I mean, I was just aghast this weekend that, there's a bouncy castle and there's a hot tub. David, I wanted to go up there and poke that hot tub myself and let the water flow out of it and unplug that damn bouncy castle, because it's just a symbol of the frustration that's gone on for 19 days in the Capitol. So yes, we are making changes to do everything that we can do to end this illegal occupation of our city. I mean, I was just...
Can I add one thing to that?
Yeah, what'd you make to that, Sid?
Honestly, and listening to the commission, it seems like most of the frustrations that these people talk about, it wasn't because of the convoy. Sure, the convoy had its set of logistical issues to deal with, but this is all stuff that they neither planned for, nor could they communicate about with each other, because there's just so much breakdown within the communication within the government officials. And a lot of that blame, unfortunately, seems to have been cast on the freedom organizers. And then you look at the phone call that was put into evidence this morning between the mayor and Diane. Well, did you guys hear that conversation?
I did not hear that conversation.
Oh, fair enough. I'll leave it for the time being, but it does speak to what you were mentioning about the tensions and the butting heads between these different political factions. And at one point, she basically alluded to this clique that the mayor had, and if they did want to vote out the police chief, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that group would have been involved. They would have had to have the mayor's consent, basically, to move and to act on these changes. But just communication breakdown all around is what it seems like.
Division or this crack or the revealing of this relationship between herself and the mayor. And so she probably felt more free to describe the relationship that the mayor himself has with the entire council. And she basically said, look, if he wants something, nobody's going to stop him. So he's running that as a very tight ship.
And I think we have a clip of that, actually, just some of these conversations that were happening. Maybe we can pull that one up now.
Right.
If I can take a moment to explain the sort of culture that exists at City Hall, the mayor has a group of councillors that are very supportive of his agenda and, generally speaking, will deliver to him any vote on any issue at any time. And so, and that's a reality. And I know that no motion of that magnitude would ever see its way onto the floor of council without the mayor's consent. And so when I got wind that this was being contemplated, I started asking the mayor's staff if this motion was coming, because I was very concerned about it. I didn't share it with Chief Slowly. I thought he had enough stress, frankly. And if it was never going to see the light of day on the council floor, I wasn't going to tell him about it.
Yeah,
that's lack of transparency for you for the city council.
Well, yeah, I mean, we made certain assumptions collectively. We had lots of discussions of during the time of the convoy. We made many assumptions. And what's really interesting to see is, when we're listening to this testimony, a lot of our assumptions were actually extremely accurate. And that's not because, everybody here has this crystal ball or anything. It's just that it was all painfully obvious that what we were sensing in various different ways of what was going on behind the scenes. I mean, I gotta say it's not entirely I'm not gratified by it, but I mean, at least it's good to see that our objective was to always be safe and responsible.
Watson, let me just ask you, you told us earlier today,
this is great,
where evidence came out that these protesters, they were nasty, they were hateful, and they were vulgar. Is that right?
Yes.
And you said that you saw, or you said that they had ripped masks off of people?
Yes.
Did you actually see that?
No, I saw it reported in the media.
Okay. And I think you also said that certain people were attacked. Is that right?
I didn't say that, no. I said that I had death threats, but I wasn't physically attacked.
No, I didn't say that you were attacked, but you said that these protesters were attacking people. Did you not say that?
No. They were disrupting people's lives, that's for sure, and they refused on at least 3 occasions that I'm aware of that they refused to adhere to the provincial mandate of wearing a mask when going into a shop or a restaurant.
So you're not aware of any incidents of physical violence from the protesters?
Well, you'd have to ask the police. I know they arrested a couple hundred people and charged a couple hundred people. I don't know what the charges were, so I'm not privy to that information.
According to your knowledge? You don't know of any?
So I don't know any...
Of any physical attacks?
Not to my own personal knowledge, no.
All right, thank you. Those are my questions.
Yeah. What do you guys make of that? How violent was this at the end of the day?
I mean, you're seeing testimony from the superintendent of intelligence for the OPP today, and he's getting his sources of intelligence from the mainstream media.
Yeah. Who we know got the story wrong all along. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask one question? Do you guys think that this is a matter of too many cooks in the kitchen, or is this a matter of some unbeknownst active malevolence on part of our government officials?
I have to say that it is gross incompetence and very egocentric. And I'll tell you why I'll say this. We heard from Councillor Fleury the other day. I think it was Friday when he testified. And William and I did the quick math on this afterwards, and he had stated
99 protests,
99 protests per year, almost 2 a week. And he'd been a counselor for 12 years. So that puts him roughly at about 1,200 protests. That's how much experience he has. And as a city councilor and knowing all the individuals, it's interesting because he's one of the counselors in the wards that are affected.
And he stated that while protests are taking place, the rest of the community is not able to be served by the police because they don't have enough resources.
And that's what he said is during a protest, all police resources go to the protest and the city is left largely unprotected or uncovered, which is an exaggeration, I think. I don't think the police are that careless. But the interesting thing is you've got that level of experience. And even the OPP said today that the level of experience with protests and with this police department is extremely high.